Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. For anyone who just joined, my name is Jamie Wallace. I'm from Brainfuse, and I'll be conducting the webinar today. I asked a few minutes ago if everybody was able to hear me, and I did hear back from a number of people, so the audio does seem to be working correctly. So hopefully everybody's able to hear me. If anyone joins later, I can always go back over what they missed, or if they have any questions, you can always ask those at the end. Okay, so what we should be looking at is the main JobNow screen. So everybody should be able to see my screen right here. If you can't for some reason, again, just type out a quick message to let me know. But this is the main JobNow screen. So this is what your patrons will see when they access the service. Usually it's set up so that your patrons have to go to your library's website. They'll click on a link for Brainfuse JobNow that's placed somewhere on your website, and then they'll get to this page right here. So that's how they'll access the service. The point of the webinar today is to basically start from this page and click on all the different options your patrons will have here when they access JobNow. So I'll go over essentially each of the options your patrons will have here. I'll show you exactly how everything works, and then you'll be able to either show your patrons how to use the service or answer any questions about the service if they happen to have any. So again, we have a lot of people signed in today, so I'm not going to unmute everybody's microphone. So we'll just use the chat box for questions. There would just be too much background noise with everybody's microphone unmuted. So everybody should just keep using the chat box to type out questions. You can type those out at any point, and I'll address the questions when I see them. I'll also try to stop a couple times throughout the webinar to give you a few seconds to type out questions, but you don't need to wait for me to do that. You can type out questions anytime. Okay, so again, this is the main page. So you basically have these 4 buttons down here in the middle of the page, and that's how you access the different parts of our service. So before we start doing that, just a general overview. JobNow is sort of just like it sounds, a job search help service. So we help with all aspects of the job search process, starting with the resume, up through the interview, finding jobs to apply to, and a number of other options here as well. So I'm going to start with the first button that we have right here, which is write the resume. So usually the first step for someone who's looking for a job is to write a resume. You need this document for pretty much all jobs you apply for these days. So if I click on the resume button here, we have 3 options. The first one here is resume templates. So for anyone who's creating a resume for the first time or creating a new resume, they can click on the templates option here. We have a basic description of the 4 types of resumes, and then you have a Word document template for each one here that you can open up. And our templates, this is one example of the templates. So it's essentially a sample resume. So there's a sample of what you'd have within each section, and then we also have in the red text general description of what should be included within this section. Obviously, formats can vary. This is just one format that we recommend, but you know the patron doesn't have to follow this format. Of course, if they have no idea how to create a resume, they can take this template and essentially keep the formatting and just enter their own information. If we go back, that was the templates button. Then we have resume resources. So these are just some links to websites you can use that will further help you write a better resume. The options down here at the bottom that say template again, these are actually updated templates, and that's the one that I showed you. They just need to be moved over to the regular template page. And then if we go back, that was the resources button, and then we have the resume lab. So once your patron, one of your patrons has a copy of their resume created, they can click on the resume lab here to send this document in to us and have one of our resume editors review that resume, provide some help with the content and format, and then send that back to the patron. Before I click on the button here, though, we have certain parts of our service where your patrons will need to create a username and password so that they have their own account. The only information you need to give us is a username and a password, and those can be whatever you'd like. So of course the account is free, it doesn't cost anything extra, and the patron does not need to give any personal information. They just need a username and password so that they can sign back into their own unique account to retrieve things like a resume that's sent back to them. So to use the resources or the templates, you don't need to sign in with a username and password. but for certain parts of the service you will need to. So when you click on the Resume Lab button here, it's going to take me directly to this page where I send in my resume, and it took me here because I've already signed in. And if I was not signed in, it would take me to a page that asks me either to sign in if I have an account or to create a new account. So the system will always prompt you for that. So it's very easy for the patron to figure out. So once you get to the Resume Lab page here, you just click on the Browse button here to locate the file that you want to send in. So I'll just attach a writing sample that I have here. We'll pretend it's a resume. Pretty much any standard document type is fine to be submitted. And you have a comments box here where you can type out whatever you'd like. And then you'll also see here it says resume/cover letter. So we are happy to help with cover letters as well as resumes. Then you have the comments box here. You can type out any notes you'd like to make to the tutor. So you can tell them what kinds of jobs you're looking for. If you're looking for help just with one aspect of the resume, anything like that can be typed out here, and the tutor will see those comments. And then you click on the Submit button. So you get this message here in red that directs you to the Message Center. So whenever you're signed in with that username and password you created, you'll have the Message Center option, as well as these other options that we'll get to a little later here at the top of the page. So you click on the Message Center, and right here is the document we just sent in. So when the tutor sends back their review, they'll show up right below this. So you'll be able to open up the document the tutor sends back and either print it out, email it to yourself, put it on a flash drive, anything like that. The turnaround time from when you send the resume in to us to when we send it back is at most 1 business day. However, as soon as you send the document in, one of our tutors might start working on it and send it back an hour or two later. But again, the max turnaround time will be 1 business day. But that doesn't mean if you send something in on Friday night that you won't get it back until Monday. For the most part, if you send it in on Friday night, you'll have it back by Saturday night. So for the most part, it's within 1 day. But we say 1 business day just to be safe. But for the most part, even over the weekend, it'll be within 24 hours. Okay, that was the Write the Resume button. I'll just pause for a few seconds now to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to type out. So go ahead and type those out if you have any. And then in a few seconds, we'll move on to Ace the Interview if there aren't any questions. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. If anyone is typing them out, you can feel free to keep doing that, and I'll address the question right when I see it. So the next button here is the Ace the Interview option. So I'll click on that one. Here again, we have 3 options. The first one is a live interview coach. So if you click on this button, our online classroom will open up, and you'll get connected to a tutor in a live session. So I'll show you what that looks like towards the end today. So that'll be the last thing that we do. But we will look at the live session and how that works. The next option here is interview tips. So these are just some general tips that your patrons can read through if they're preparing for an interview. So you can click on each of the options here. If I click on the first one, before the interview, for example, it's just a page of tips like this that's helpful for somebody to read through if they've never been on an interview or if they haven't been on an interview for a very long time. It might be good to read through these tips prior to the interview. Right next to the interview tips option, we have online resources. So just like we had for resumes, here we have some links to outside websites that you can use that will help you prepare for an upcoming interview. And then if we go back to the home page here, that was the Ace the Interview button. We'll move on now to the links and tips option. Here we just have 2 options. The first one is career assessments. So if you have any patrons who have no idea what field or industry they want to go into, they can try taking one of these free career assessments that we have offered right here. You just click on it and take that. And then what a lot of patrons like to do is after taking the career assessment, they'll log in back into Brainfuse with their results, and our tutors can help them either create a resume around the industry that they were directed to. The tutor could help them find available jobs in their area within that industry, or write a cover letter based on that industry. So anything like that, our tutors would be happy to help with. And then next to the Career Assessments button, we have Job Resources. So these are just lists of websites that we've compiled that your patrons can use to find available jobs to apply to. So we have a nationwide list. These are national job search websites. And then we'll also have a local resources option. So we'll populate the local resources option with ones that we can find in your area. But if you have any links you'd like us to add, you can feel free to send those to us anytime, and we can add those for you. And then we also have a job search option right here on the main page. So you can just type in a job title, keyword, location, anything like that, and do a quick job search here. And then for a more extensive search, we have the list of websites here that you can use. Okay, so those were the first three buttons. I'll pause again for a few seconds now to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to type out in the chat box. So go ahead and do that if you have any. And then after we do that, we'll move on to the Adult Learning Center option. There's a question asking if this is for all levels of professionals and is advice customized for industry, i.e. teachers, etc. It is for all levels, and as far as the advice being customized, every session is individual. So when a student logs in and sends in their resume, we're going to critique their resume specifically. So it's not a general critique or general resume guidelines. We critique what they send in. Or if you log in for a live session to get help preparing for an upcoming interview, again, that session will be based around the specific interview that you're preparing for, or if it's just general interview preparation for one industry, it'll be based around that. So everything is specific to the patron who's logged in and the help that they need. There's another question asking if we have any resources in Spanish. We do have some resources in Spanish in the Adult Learning Center. We'll look at those. But most of the job search options that we have are just available in English. There's another question asking if the live sessions are done by chat or audio. So we'll look at a live session later and we'll see that, but basically the live sessions are just done through the chat box and our interactive whiteboard, which is sort of like a smartboard. So there's no chatting back and forth, no audio. It's all done by text chatting. There's no microphones or audio. Okay, I don't see any other questions for right now. So we'll go ahead and look at the last option here, which is the Adult Learning Center. So a little bit of background on this before we click on the button. There are some options here that we'll see in the Adult Learning Center that are not related to the job search process. The Adult Learning Center option is one that we provide here within our JobNow service and also within our academic tutoring service that a lot of libraries subscribe to. So there's some overlap between the two. So here in the Adult Learning Center, you'll see some options related to the job search process and some that are more related to academic tutoring help. They're all for adults, and this is all the options that your patrons will see when they log in. So everything we see today, your patrons will see. That's just a little background on why you'll see some options here that are more having to do with academic tutoring than with job search help. So this is the Adult Learning Center, this page right here. On the right-hand side here, under where it says Lifelong Learning, we have 5 options here for any adults. These are all academic tutoring options here on the right. Essentially, they're for adults who are going back to school and taking classes, preparing for any sorts of tests or certifications, or just looking to brush up on academic skills for any reason. They can come here to get some academic help. So we have a live tutoring option. So the adult learner just chooses basic, intermediate, or advanced, and then one of the academic subjects that are available here. You can click on this checkbox here to get a Spanish-speaking tutor. So we have Spanish-speaking tutors available for all of our academic subjects. And you can click on Get Live Help. That'll open up our online classroom, and you'll get connected with a tutor who can help you with the subject you chose. We also have the skills building option here on the right. This also connects you with a live tutor. They're pretty much the same. You'll see you have the same options here for the subjects. Live tutoring is designed for someone who has a specific question to ask, and skills building for someone who just needs general help on a skill or topic. But within the Adult Learning Center here, these two are essentially the same. They'll both connect you with a live tutor, and then you can tell that tutor what you need to work on. The Writing Lab option right here works just like the Resume Lab that we saw before. So that was where you could send in your resume to have it reviewed. Here you can do the same thing with a piece of writing. So an essay, a paper, anything like that can be sent in here. Just click on Browse to attach the file, add your comments, click on Submit. That sends it in. Again, you look in the Message Center right up here at the top of the page for our response within 1 business day. The Test Center here lets adult learners take academic practice tests. So you just, again, choose basic, intermediate, or advanced, and then one of the subjects here, and this will assign you a practice test within that subject. You'll see you have the My Tests option here at the top of the page. So this is where your test results will be saved. And the nice thing about our tests is that they're integrated with our live tutoring. So you can log in with a live tutor after taking one of these practice tests. Tell that tutor, I just took a geometry test. I'd like to go over the answers I got wrong. The tutor can then access the test that you took and see your results and essentially go over those questions with you that you answered incorrectly. You also, when you finish a test, you get a little review of your results that will point out the skills tested on the questions you answered incorrectly, and there's a live help option directly from that page. So if you answer a question about multiplying fractions incorrectly, there'll be a little connect here for a live tutor, and that tutor will see you chose that topic, and then they can help you with that subject. So it's all integrated with our live tutoring, our test center. And then the last option here on the right is the 24/7 help. This one works just like the Writing Lab. So that's where you could send in a piece of writing for review. In 24/7 help here, you can send in a question for review. So any academic questions you have, type them out here, attach a file if you want to, and then send that in. Again, the turnaround time is 1 business day at the most, but we usually respond more quickly than that. So this can be used any time of day. That's why it's called 24/7. Our live tutoring options do have limited hours. That's the only part of our service with limited hours is the live tutoring. Everything else can be accessed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But the hours for live tutoring are 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So 7 days a week, 2 to 11, you can connect with live tutors. So that is for the live academic tutors here, as well as for the interview prep tutors back on the main JobNow page. So anytime you're connecting with a live tutor within Brainfuse, those are the hours. So if we go back to the main Adult Learning Center page here, we just looked at the 5 options here on the right, and we have some additional options here on the left. So if any of your patrons are preparing to take the GED test, you can click on the GED button right here, Then we have some study materials available under number 1 on the left. Under number 2 in the middle, you can connect to live tutors who can help you prepare for each section of the GED test. And then on the right, you can take practice tests to prepare for the GED. If we go back, the next button here is prepare for the U.S. citizenship test. So here we have the same options as we did for the GED. So we have study materials, live tutors, and then practice tests on the right-hand side. The next button here is write a winning resume. So here we're back to having to do with a job search process. So this is another resume section that we have. It's a little bit different than the one we had on the main JobNow page, but there is some overlap. So here we have resume resources. In the middle, you can upload your resume. So this is the same as the resume lab that we saw previously. So you'll see you click on that button, you see the resume lab option. So this is exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether your patrons submit their resume here or through the main JobNow page. It works the same way. And then on the right, we have a live resume help option. So here you can connect with one of our live tutors in our online classroom and ask any questions you have about your resume or even go over your resume in a live session. The next button below the resume option is Microsoft Office help. So here we offer help with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint up to the most recent versions of those programs. So you can click on the online resources here on the left where we have some tutorials on these 3 programs, and then on the right you can connect to a live tutor and ask any questions you have about Excel, PowerPoint, or Word. And then the last option here in the Adult Learning Center is the Career Resources button. So this is the same Career Resources option as the one back on the main JobNow page. Again, you just have the nationwide and local resources. So these are lists of job search websites that you can use to find available jobs to apply to. The lists here will be exactly the same as the ones on the main JobNow page. So those were all the options here within the Adult Learning Center. I'll pause for a couple seconds again now to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask about the Adult Learning Center or anything else we've gone over so far. So go ahead and type out those questions if you have any. And then the last thing we'll do is connect for a live session to see how that works. There's a question asking, is the 2 to 11 time Eastern Standard Time? Yes, that's local time, so Eastern Time. There's another question asking, who are the tutors? So all of our tutors have at least 4-year college degrees. They go through full background checks with us, and then they go through a full training with us as well on how to use our system, on our policies, and things like that. For our academic tutors, they go through testing to prove that they can do these the subjects that they say they can do. So they're only approved for the specific subjects that they can pass our tests in. And then we do a lot of tutor quality control. It's a lot of what we do here in the office. So tutors who don't know their subjects, who aren't good tutors, we don't continue to work with them. So that's a lot of what we do on a day-to-day basis because we have so many tutors. For JobNow specifically and resume reviewing, the qualifications are a little bit different. It's not that you can just assign a test like you can for math, but most of the resume reviewers are writing tutors. They go through more training with us than the academic tutors on what we expect them to do in resume reviews. A lot have a background in HR or working for other companies that review resumes and cover letters. But those tutors go through more training with us on what exactly we expect. Are there any other questions for right now? Okay, I don't see any other questions right now. Actually, I do see one. There's another question asking, do people need to log in to get access to the ALC? So the Adult Learning Center here is not something you need to log in to access, but if you want to use certain sections of it, like send your resume in through the resume option, send in a piece of writing through the writing lab. Essentially, anytime you're sending something to us and then we have to send something back to you, you'll need to have a username and password. So you'll need that for the writing lab, for the resume lab, but most of the other options here you can access without signing in. The live tutoring, a lot of people ask about that. You don't actually need a username and password to access our live tutors. The system will give you a guest account. However, there are some benefits to having a username and password when you connect for a live session. I'll get to those when we do connect for the live session in a couple minutes. But you do not need a username and password to connect with our live tutors. There's a follow-up question asking, what about Microsoft Help? In Microsoft Office Help? No. So for live tutoring here, you can just click on one of these options, connect with a live tutor. The system will give you a guest account. And anytime we offer resources, you definitely do not need a username and password. Okay, so I don't see any questions for right now. So I'll go ahead and connect for the live session. So we saw a number of different areas, especially within the Adult Learning Center, where you can connect with live tutors. But the first option we saw was within Ace the Interview and the Live Interview Coach button. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here to connect with a live tutor. This is our online classroom that's opening up here. Call it the Brainfuse Whiteboard. So this is the same online classroom here that you'll see no matter what subject you chose. So I chose interview help, but if I had logged in for a math session through the Adult Learning Center or GED help, you'd see the same online classroom here. So there's basically two parts to the online classroom. There's the whiteboard space up here, which is essentially a smart board, which I'll get to in a minute. And then we also have the chat box down here at the bottom. So the chat box is an instant messaging feature. It's where most of the back and forth communication occurs. So you can click right down here and type out whatever you'd like to the tutor. So for this session today, the tutor's name here shows up in parentheses and also in the participants box. So I'm just connected to myself today. I'm also logged in as a tutor. But normally, of course, the session would start with the tutor greeting the student and figuring out what exactly the student needs help with. The tutor is notified of the general subject the student chooses, but they don't know anything further about what the student needs help with. So that's usually how the session starts. That's usually done in the chat box down here. The whiteboard space up at the top can be used for a number of different things. If somebody logs in to get help, just general math help through the Adult Learning Center, we have lots of lessons created that our tutors have access to that are just like lessons in a textbook. So the tutor might load one of those lessons here into the whiteboard space and then work through that with the student if the student is looking for help on a math topic or some general academic subject. But this area can be used for other things as well. So if someone logs in to get help on a resume, the tutor can load our resume templates or sample resumes that we have available. Same thing for cover letters. If you log in for interview help, like I did here, we have lists of interview questions the tutor can load onto the whiteboard and then work through answers with the student. We have general interview questions as well as industry-specific questions. And then this area can also just be used for whatever the student needs. So if they log in to get help on a math question they're struggling with or a chemistry question, you can type that out here on the whiteboard. And you would do that using all these different buttons that we see along the left-hand side. So I'll quickly go through these, but if you put your mouse over each one, you'll get a little description of what the button does. So for the most part, they're self-explanatory. So you can type or draw whatever you'd like on the whiteboard. You can erase, click on the ABC button, and then click anywhere on the board and type. And this is all interactive. So whatever I'm putting on the whiteboard here as the student, it's showing up on the tutor's whiteboard and vice versa. So it's essentially like we're working on the same whiteboard together. Font just lets me change the font style and size color wheel. Let me change the color of the next thing I put on the whiteboard. This is a paste text or image button, so anything that can be copied and pasted, you can copy it, put your mouse on the board, and then click on the paste button, and that'll paste it right onto the whiteboard. So you can paste part of your cover letter, part of a paper you're working on, part of your resume, anything like that right onto the whiteboard. This is just a straight line tool that you can use to underline or to draw figures. Then we have a graph option right here. It actually lets you choose from a number line or a graph. So if you choose the number line, you can click and drag that onto the board. Or if you choose the graph option, you can click and drag that onto the board. So you can use those if you need them to work on a math problem. You can also double click on the icons here, and it will let you change the X and Y values. This tool right here is a basic shapes tool. So you can use it to put lines onto a graph or to put some other basic shapes on the board. The arrow here just removes the most recent thing you put on the board. This gives you a long list of math symbols. Next button here gives you a long list of science symbols if you need either of those. Then we have a superscript and a subscript button. And down at the very bottom you can clear the entire whiteboard. Up at the top here we have a few additional options. So this one will let you print out the board. So if there's something very helpful that you went over with a tutor on the board, you can click on the print option to print it out. However, you don't need to do that. There's another option back on the website here, and that's the Past Sessions button right here. So this is the benefit to having a username and password when you connect for a live session, even though you don't need one. So if you have a username and password when you log in for a live session, the live session will automatically be recorded and saved within your account here. So you can log back into your account at any point, and you can essentially rewatch a video recording of that tutoring session. So it records everything that went on, and you can rewatch a video of it here. That only happens if you have a username and password. If you just log in with a guest account, the session won't automatically be saved, but you do have an option if you have a very useful, successful session. Before you sign out at the end, you can click on this envelope icon right here, type in your email address, and that will email the link to you, and then you can click on that link and watch the session recording. The description here is a little bit outdated. It used to just send a chat box transcript, but now it sends a link to the full session video recording. And you can also use this even if you have a username and password, and then you'll have the link in your email rather than having to sign into your Brainfuse account. There's a question saying, can you print a transcript of your help chat? I believe the print button used to do that. I haven't tried it recently. I think it only prints the whiteboard right now, but I'm not 100% sure. But if you click on this option, you'll get the video recording. You'll be able to see the chat box. Or if you have a username and password, you have the Past Sessions option here. And you can always go there to rewatch the session recording. This button right here, we skipped over. This one says Send File. So this lets you upload a document directly to the tutor that you're connected with. So if you're connected with a tutor and looking for help on your resume, you can click right here and upload that document directly to the tutor. And any standard file type can be sent to the tutor. And then the last button right here is the Cloud Pack Explorer. So back on the website here, we have the My Cloud Pack option that I didn't touch on yet. So if you click on this button, this blue window opens up. It's essentially a storage device here, My Cloud Pack. So you can click here and you can add whatever subfolders you'd like. So you add one for resumes, add one for cover letters, and then you can upload various versions of your cover letter or your resume or any documents into these folders. So in one capacity, it just works as a storage device, so you can back up files by saving them here. But then once you have documents saved in your Cloud Pack and you're connected in a live session, you can use the Cloud Pack Explorer here to access those documents and upload them right onto the whiteboard. So you can upload your resume onto the space here and then look at it together with the tutor. So you have a number of options for sharing information with your tutor. You can use Cloud Pack. You can use the Send File button to send that directly to the tutor. or you can use the copy-paste option just to paste something right onto the whiteboard. So those are different options you have. Okay, so that's essentially how the live sessions work. That's also pretty much everything that I wanted to go over today. So those are all of the options that you have here within the JobNow service. Now I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about the online classroom that we just went over, or about anything else that we've gone over today within JobNow. So go ahead and type out any questions or comments, anything like that that you have, and I'd be happy to address those. I see there's a question saying, how are you notified when your question has been answered? Must you check the message center, or can an alert be emailed to you? For programs like this with the library doing JobNow, because we don't require any personal information, we don't send any notifications. So because students sign up, or patrons sign up for their account by just giving a username and password, we don't require an email address, so there's no way for us to email them. We run other programs where we have the information from all the students who will be using the service, and in that instance we do send an email notification, but not for this type of program. So the patron will just have to log in and click on the message center. There's another question asking if any of this is going to be in smartphone-friendly format. Yes, we already do have an app out for iPhone and iPad, and the Android app is coming out. I don't think it's out yet. It's going to include the live tutoring option. It actually might already as of maybe a few days ago, or that will be available soon on the app. But previously it was just the non-live tutoring component, everything but that. But the live component will be added, and it might actually be added already. So if you just go to the App Store and search for Brainfuse, you'll find our app there. So again, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over today. So if anyone needs to sign out, you can go ahead and do so if you do need to. Thanks a lot for attending, and I hope it was helpful. But I will stay logged in for at least another few minutes to answer any additional questions that anybody has. So you can feel free to keep typing out questions if you do have any. And if anyone does have questions in the future, you can always contact us. The best email to use is our general email, which is checked constantly, which is just info@brainfuse.com. So info@brainfuse.com. And we also have on the website, you can always click on the Contact Us option to find our phone number and our email address.